Hey guys, welcome back to the Sports Sermon. It's the usual crew here with Dan and Dylan, and D3 Phenomenon special guest John Majors is in the house to help us break down the Steelers season preview. John, how you doing?
Doing great. How you doing?
Pretty good. All right, Dylan, let's get right into it with what happened last year for the Steelers season.
Well, the Steelers finished with an 11-5 record in the regular season. They started off 4-5 actually, but ended the season on a 7-game winning streak and actually won every game until the conference championship, in which they lost to the Patriots, who eventually won the Super Bowl. So overall, a solid season for the Steelers. Another big one from their big three: Ben Roethlisberger, Le'Veon Bell, and Antonio Brown. But obviously still underachieving by not getting to the Super Bowl. So Steelers, pretty solid year, but not as good as they would like it to be.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's kind of been the motto for the Steelers these last years is just to try to beat those Patriots, and they just have not been able to get over that hump.
Yeah, well, let's move into the depth chart for the Steelers this year. So offense, Jason, what do you have?
So the offense is pretty much centered around the big three, the big Bs, with Ben Roethlisberger at the quarterback, but they got a pretty solid backup in Joshua Dobbs, someone that they can groom nicely and get him ready to take over when Roethlisberger decides to retire, whether that be this year or next year. And then Landry Jones, who has not done well when he's come in as a backup. At the running back spot, I am a fan of the Pittsburgh running back core, and Dan said that they were a top 5 running back tandem in a few episodes back, so a lot to like here at the running backs. You've got obviously the star Le'Veon Bell, but James Conner, Niall Davis, and Fitzgerald Toussaint there to help back up Le'Veon if he does get hurt or whatever may happen. So good running back core for the Steelers. And then at the receivers, lots of options when he's leading off with Antonio Brown. And then you've got your combination that you want to use of Darius Hayward-Bay, Juju Smith-Schuster, Eli Rogers, Sammy Coates, Martavis Bryant back from a suspension. So lots of weapons there. Tight end is kind of irrelevant. You got Jesse James and no one else. And then the O-line's pretty good, headlined by Marquise Pouncey and David DeCastro. So to sum that up, the depth chart offensively is looking pretty solid for the Steelers. They got more depth this year at their main position, something they really struggled to have last year when Roethlisberger went down and Bell went down and all that. So offense looking good, but Dylan, what do you have on the defense?
Yeah, the defense is worse than the offense. Obviously, the offense where the Steelers are spending most of their money. On the defensive line, headlined by Cameron Hayward and Stephon Tuitt. Not much else besides them. When you look at the linebackers, you got Ryan Shazier, Bud Dupree, James Harrison, and TJ Watt, the new draft pick. So some pretty solid linebackers. But when you move into the secondary, the cornerbacks are obviously terrible. Ross Cockrell and Artie Burns are going to be holding down the cornerback position for the Steelers this year, and that's not going to be looking too good if they go up against some solid passing attacks. A safety, Mike Mitchell, not much else besides him at the safety position. So this defense, obviously not as good as the offense. That's where they spend their money. That's what they're going to try to do, outscore teams every game, and are not going to be relying too much on the defense. But still some solid talent, especially at the linebacker position.
Yeah, what do you guys think about TJ Watt? I don't know. I've really never been a big fan of his. I think he gets hyped up because of his last name more than how good of a player he is. Not that he's not good by any means, but just like, do you think he's able to be a starter in the National Football League right now?
I think he could be. I mean, I think his draft stock definitely rose because of J.J. Watt, but I think he could eventually end up being solid. Maybe not this year, but down the road he could be a solid pass rusher for a team.
Yeah, I just don't know if that. Like, I didn't know if I really agreed there because of how much cornerback help they needed. I don't know. I thought there were better options there, including guys I don't know, just guys that went early in that second round that might have been better fits. But Dan, let's send over to the special teams guru, Dan Majors.
Yeah, Pittsburgh special teams is looking pretty average this year. I mean, they drafted Colin Holba, a long snapper, in the 6th round for some reason. The main thing they're looking forward to, though, is Chris Boswell coming back for the kicking duties, and Jordan Berry will be the punter. Sammy Coates will be returning kicks along with Fitzgerald Toussaint. although a lot of Steelers fans would like to see Toussaint on the bench instead, as he made a lot of mistakes last year returning kicks. And then Antonio Brown will be returning punts again.
So yeah, I guess looking at that special teams unit, it's not so special.
Definitely, Jason. Definitely.
I mean, just pretty average, I guess you could say, not so special. But let's move into the schedule. We're going to go through week by week and predict every single game for the Pittsburgh Steelers this year. So we'll start off with John. What do you have in week 1 at the Cleveland Browns?
Week 1, you pretty much get a bye with the Cleveland Browns. I got them winning.
Oh, boy.
It won't be close.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be close either. I think the Browns defense is going to improve, but not in week 1. I could see Big Ben, Bell, and Brown all having 2-3 touchdowns easy.
Yeah, like you said, the Browns will be better, maybe at 3-13, 4-12, but are still not going to be a solid team. The Steelers should run all over them.
Yeah, definitely a win for Pittsburgh in that one.
All right, week 2, they are back home versus the Minnesota Vikings. Jason, who do you have in that game?
I've got a win for the Steelers again. I think they get off to a little bit of a hot streak, starting off 2-0. Vikings not really sure what they're going to do at the quarterback spot, declining Teddy Bridgewater's option for the year after. Some question marks in Minnesota, losing Adrian Peterson, getting Latavius Murray, not enough to get the job done. Steelers start off 2-0.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Vikings are not going to be a solid team this year. Steelers, again, should run over them, especially since it is at the Steelers.
Yeah, I've got a win for the Steelers also. I think the Vikings defense could give them some trouble, but not enough.
I agree. I've got a win there. Pittsburgh's offense is going to be too much.
All right, then week 3, the Steelers travel to Chicago to play the Bears, another team that's not looking too hot this year. Dan, who do you have in that game?
I've got a win for the Steelers. I think much better team than the Bears. So
yeah, it's almost by week 2 in the first 3 weeks. The Bears are super irrelevant. They don't have quarterback stability. They've got no offense or defense really to rely on. Once again, it won't be close, and the Bears are really going to struggle this year.
Yeah, the Steelers should walk all over the Bears. They should walk all over the Browns too. But the Bears not going to be looking too good this year. Again, the Steelers are, I think, kind of lucky getting to travel on the road twice in their first 3 weeks to play the Browns and the Bears. Get 2 easy wins there.
Yep, again, offense will be too much. Bears are too young. Their defense will be inconsistent to start out the year. Got Pittsburgh winning that one.
All right, then in week 4, the Steelers travel to their biggest rival, the Baltimore Ravens, for a road game. They're third in the first 4 weeks. Jason, who do you have there?
Win there. I think the Ravens are still going to try to get their feet under themselves and just try to really get on a roll. And I think week 4 is too early, but maybe later in the season they'll be able to get back at them.
I've actually got a loss there for Pittsburgh. I think they will split with Baltimore this year. I think that'll be their only loss in the AFC East. So
I've got Pittsburgh winning this game. I believe their offense is going to be too much. Baltimore's defense will be better this year, but it won't be enough.
Dan, why do you have the Ravens? Why do you think the Ravens win that game week 4?
I just think on the road, I don't know. I mean,
coming off 3 easy games type thing,
getting
I don't
lazy.
think
they'll get 4 straight wins to start the year. So
all right.
I think the Steelers do. Traveling to the Ravens, it is earlier in the year, but the Steelers a more talented team, although I do think it'll be close, a rivalry game on the road, but the Steelers can get the win and improve to 4-0. So in week 5, the Steelers are back home for a game against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Dan, who do you have in that game?
I've got a win for Pittsburgh. I've already said in another podcast that I'm not high on the Jaguars this year. So
yeah, I do have the Steelers winning, but I think it'll be by a game-winning field goal by Chris Boswell. I am very high on the Jaguars this year. I was last year, and I think that I'm going to stay high on the Jaguars train. I think it'll be somewhere 28-24. That's not a game-winning field goal. 31-28, something like that, where it's a close game throughout, but the Steelers get the win and start off 5-0.
Yep, I have the same thing. Pittsburgh moves 5-0. I don't have any faith in Blake Bortles. Has too many turnovers.
Yeah, especially traveling to the Steelers, a veteran defense in Week 5, still early in the season. I think the Jags struggle again, and the Steelers improved to 5-0. In Week 6, the Steelers travel to Kansas City to play the Chiefs for their first tough contest of the year. John, who do you have in that game?
I actually have Pittsburgh losing this game. Kansas City's a tough place to play, one of the loudest stadiums out there. Alex Smith will be ready to go. Kansas City's defense is lights out. Pittsburgh will struggle, and Kansas City will get the win.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think traveling on the road to the Chiefs and the Steelers not really being challenged too much in their first 5 weeks, they won't be ready for the Chiefs, and I think the Steelers take their first loss of the year.
Yeah, I've also got a loss here. I think Kansas City's defense will be just too much on the road.
Yeah, I disagree. I think that Pittsburgh is gonna keep rolling. I mean, 5-0. I think the Chiefs are gonna have a down year. They've got no real offense. Getting rid of Jeremy Maclin, losing Jamal Charles. I'm not confident in Spencer Ware being able to run that offense. So I think that the Chiefs are gonna struggle this year. Their defense will be good, but not good enough. Big three prevail, and the Steelers are still undefeated through Week 6.
All right, Week 7, the Steelers back home for another division rival in the Cincinnati Bengals. Dan, who do you have in that game?
I got the Steelers by a lot, actually, especially at home. And the Bengals won't have a great year this year.
I have the Steelers also winning this game. But I have them splitting in the season series. Cincinnati will not get the best of them while it's at Pittsburgh.
I also have a win for the Steelers, a home game versus the Bengals. Like you guys said, the Bengals not going to have a great year this year. Steelers should walk all over them, even though they are some division rivals.
I think that the Steelers also win, but kind of the same reason I said the Ravens, where I just feel like it's just too early. I think the Bengals and Ravens are both teams that are going to need some time to get going, and I think Week 4 and Week 7 for those teams are too early, but I think later down the road you could see an upset.
All right, in Week 8, the Steelers travel to Detroit to play the Detroit Lions, another tough contest for the Steelers. John, who do you have in that game?
I actually have the Lions winning this game. It's a Sunday night game on NBC. I think Matthew Stafford will go off. Detroit will be a hectic environment. Big Ben will struggle in this game. Detroit will get the win by a few touchdowns.
I also have the Lions pulling the upset. It is a home game for the Lions, primetime game, and the Steelers defense, I think, will get torn apart by Matthew Stafford.
Yeah, I've never been high on Stafford and the Lions, so I have faith in the Steelers. I have them going in 8-0 into their bye week.
I also have a win here for the Steelers. I think their offense will be too much for the Lions. I think it'll be close, but yeah, Pittsburgh will get the win.
All right, then in Week 9, the Steelers have a bye week, and in Week 10, they travel to Indianapolis to play the Colts. Jason, who do you have in that game?
Easy win, not close. Colts are not going to play well this year.
Jason, you're just a Colts hater, but I also do have a win for the Steelers. They always play the Colts well, and they'll travel to Indy and get the win.
I agree. I believe Pittsburgh will get the win. Their pass rush will be too much for the terrible offensive line of the Colts. Andrew Luck will struggle, have more than 2 turnovers.
Yeah, definitely a win here for Pittsburgh.
All right, then in Week 11, another AFC South opponent, but this time at Pittsburgh. The Titans will travel to Pittsburgh to play the Steelers. John, who do you have in that one?
I have the Steelers winning this game, but you never know with the Thursday night game. The Titans have a good offense, but I have the Steelers winning. DeMarco Murray will probably give their defense havoc, but Steelers will win.
I've got the Titans pulling out the win there, but contingent on Mariota staying healthy this long. You never know if he'll be able to last 11 weeks, but if Mariota's their guy, I think the Titans get the win, and the Steelers get their first loss of the season, falling to 9-1.
I got the Steelers in this one. I think Roethlisberger will throw all over Tennessee.
I've actually got the Titans too. I think that they travel to Pittsburgh and get the win. Like John said, a Thursday night game, and you really never know with those depending on who's ready to go for the Steelers. In Week 12, the Steelers also have a home game back-to-back, this time against a tougher opponent, the Green Bay Packers. Dan, who do you have winning that game?
I've got the Packers in this one. I mean, I think it'll be a great game, maybe one of the best of the year with two of the best teams in the league. But, yeah, Packers will be too much for them, especially offensively. And, yeah, definitely Packers.
I'm going to go with a win here for the Steelers. I think they get back on track after losing to the Titans, and so they improve to 11-1.
I'm also going to go with a loss for the Steelers in Week 12. Like Dan said, the Packers go on the road, and it'll be a shootout, a great game, but the Packers just a little bit too much. Their defense a little better than the Steelers.
I have the Packers in this game. Aaron Rodgers is a great quarterback, and he's even better on Sunday night, so that's going to be trouble for the Steelers.
All right, in Week 13, the Steelers play at the Bengals, division rival. Could be a trap game for the Steelers. The Bengals not going to be a great team this year, but they are rivals and always play each other close. John, who do you have in that game?
Actually, I have the Bengals win this game. Earlier I said they're going to split the series, so Andy Dalton will have a good game. This is on Monday Night Football. Andy Dalton will play well. The running game will also go well for them, but Steelers will lose.
I've got a win here for the Steelers. I think they're a much better team than Cincinnati, and especially losing guys on the offensive line for Cincinnati. Steelers definitely in this one.
I've got the Bengals getting the win. I think this starts a little bit of a slide for the Steelers, and so I have the Bengals being the Steelers' second loss of the season.
I think it'll be a close one, traveling to Cincinnati for the Steelers, but I think they still get the win. I think it'll be a frustrating, close, low-scoring game, but the Bengals' offense just not able to do enough, don't really have much outside of A.J. Green. In Week 14, the Steelers play back-to-back division games. The Ravens will travel to Pittsburgh to play the Steelers. Jason, who do you have in that one?
I've got the Ravens. Like I said, it's the start of a slide for the Steelers. I think they're going to struggle here. I think the Ravens are going to be clicking at this time, starting to get their offense going. Flacco's finally got some nice pieces around him, and so I think that the Ravens could be doing something special at this time of the year.
I've got Pittsburgh in this one. I think there'll be too much for them here at home.
I have Steelers in this game, Sunday Night Football. Antonio Brown has a history of playing well on Sunday night. He will go off.
Yeah, home game for the Steelers. Again, it'll be a frustrating, low-scoring division game, but I think the Steelers get the win because they will need it to make sure they get a good seed in the playoffs. In Week 15, the Steelers play the Patriots, another home game for them, and their toughest test of the season so far. Patriots might be one of the best teams in NFL history, at least on paper, before the season starts. Dan, who do you have in that one?
I think it'll be one of the best games of the year. Rematch of the AFC Championship, but I've got the Patriots in this one. I think they'll come into Pittsburgh, and Brady will have a great game.
I think that the Patriots are not going to blow them out like they did in the AFC Championship because they're really going to struggle without LeGarrette Blount, but not struggle too much. Like I said, I think they're going to go 13-3. So this is a win for the Patriots, a loss for the Steelers, and now in my schedule, the Steelers have lost 3 straight.
I have the Patriots winning this game. You can never bet against Tom Brady. He is the GOAT, whether we like him or not.
Yeah, a big game for both teams in this one, but the Patriots are going to get the win. Like I said, one of the best teams ever, at least on paper. Let's see how that plays out this season. But the Patriots should walk all over the Steelers in a shootout. They have a little better defense and some better offensive pieces, more depth. In Week 16, the Steelers travel to Houston to play the Texans. John, who do you have in that game?
Christmas Day matchup at 4:30. I have the Houston Texans winning this game. I believe J.J. Watt and Jadeveon Clowney will have a heyday on the Pittsburgh Steelers offensive line, and Texans will win.
I've got Pittsburgh in this one. I think they need this game with in Week 16 and coming into the playoffs.
Yeah, I've also got the Steelers. I'm pretty high on the Titans and Jags in the AFC South, but am pretty low on the Texans and Colts this year. I think the Texans are going to struggle. This won't be close, and the Steelers will get their last solidifying win before the playoffs because I think they'll rest their starters against the Browns.
I'm also going to go with a Steelers win in Week 16. Like Jason said, I think the starters put their full last effort into this one before resting against the Browns. In Week 17, the Browns come to Pittsburgh to play the Steelers. Possibly a trap game if they do rest their starters. Dan, who do you have?
I don't think it'll be close if they don't rest their starters, but I've got Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I think either way, I think I think it'll be good for the Steelers to be able to rest their starters because you give Joshua Dobbs, James Conner, Juju Smith-Schuster, guys they just drafted. You'll give them a chance to have their expanded roles that week and really see what you've got for the future because Roethlisberger's not around forever.
Yeah, even if the Steelers backups do play, I still think they can win against the Browns. The Browns, I think, will be mostly checked out by this point of the season, not going to be competing for a playoff spot or anything.
I believe Pittsburgh will win. It's basically a bye game going into the playoffs.
All right. That makes 11-5 for me. What are you guys' records for the Steelers?
I've got 12-4.
12-4.
10-6.
All right, so it sounds like we all are going to have them in the playoffs.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think they'll be the second seed, a tiebreaker with the Raiders. I think the Raiders will lose a tiebreaker. I think Patriots will be 1, Steelers 2, Raiders 3.
How far do they go in the playoffs?
It depends. It kind of depends though, on the wild card. But I think if they match up with the Raiders, that's when they lose. If they don't, they lose to the Patriots in the AFC Championship.
I agree. It depends on their matchups.
Yeah, I've got them losing to the Patriots in the AFC Championship.
Yeah, I'll have the same. Obviously, with injuries, it just really depends on who's injured more at that point of the season. If the Steelers are missing Ben Roethlisberger, Le'Veon Bell, or Antonio Brown, no way they beat the Raiders. But if those three are able to stay healthy, I think they can make it to the conference championship and lose to the Patriots again. But let's move into our headline for the Steelers this season. Jason, what do you have?
Mine's pretty simple. Just take the next step. You've had this same. It's almost getting old of the big three playing well. Someone gets hurt in the regular season. They come back for the playoffs and lose to the Patriots. It's kind of the same old story year after year. So I think they want to try and take that next step and finally beat the Patriots.
Mine has come up short another time. They'll get to the AFC Championship again with the Patriots, but Patriots will outplay them, and Steelers won't get over the hump.
I have finished Big Ben's career on a high note. This is potentially his last season. He considered retirement in the offseason, so they need to do everything they can to get him a Super Bowl to finish his career.
All right, my headline is going to be Offense Wins Championships with a question mark at the end. Can the Steelers offense lead them to a championship? Can their big three of Big Ben, Le'Veon Bell, and Antonio Brown be able to stay healthy and lead them back to a Super Bowl win? But speaking of offenses, for our top 5 today, we are going to rank the top 5 offenses in the NFL this season. Dan, who's your number 5?
I got the Cowboys at 5. Obviously, the best line in football, and with great running back in Zeke and Dak at quarterback.
I have Packers at number 5. Aaron Rodgers is all I need to know. Second best quarterback in the league.
I'm going to go with the Raiders at number 5. They got Carr, Cooper, a lot of good pieces. Brought in Marshawn Lynch.
That's disrespectful.
They'll be a solid offense.
That's just disrespectful. At number 5, I got the New England Patriots. I said it kind of as we went through this, as he went through the schedule. I just think that the Patriots are going to struggle to get their running game going without LeGarrette Blount. He was a big piece for them. So while I think they're going to be going, like, obviously very, very well wins-loss wise, I think you're going to see a struggle with the running game in New England.
Number 4, I've got the Falcons. Great running backs in Devontae Freeman, and then Matt Ryan at quarterback, and a great receiving core with Julio Jones. So Falcons at 4.
I have Patriots at number 4. Look for Brandon Cooks to have a big year.
I feel like we've been saying that for the last 3 years. Brandon Cook's going to break out this year. Brandon Cook's going to break out this year. Brandon Cook's going to break
That
out
was
this
in
year.
New Orleans.
I know, yeah, maybe this is the year. I just am saying, like, it's always, hey, this is the year for Brandon Cooks. Oh, it's not. Darn. Hey, it's next year.
I mean, he hasn't had a superstar season, but he's had some
he
pretty
hasn't
solid
had the
years.
breakout season like everyone's been waiting
This
for.
is the thing. New
He has
Orleans,
Brady, though.
they had no one else on their
Yeah.
receiving core. Patriots are loaded, so he can't be double teamed, and he's fast anyways. He's going to get in the secondary and make plays.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to double Cooks. Hey, Edelman's open. Are you going to double? Yeah.
Exactly.
I think there's going to be a lot of mismatch issues when you throw the ball in New England.
You forgot about Gronkowski. Big
Oh,
red
yeah.
zone
If he can
threat.
stay on the field, then
Exactly.
you're done.
All right, for my number 4, I'm going to say the Green Bay Packers. Obviously, Aaron Rodgers, one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL right now. He really doesn't have a lot of weapons, consistent weapons at least, to surround him. If Jordy Nelson can stay on the field, if Randall Cobb can be consistent, we'll have to see for the Packers. But they should be a pretty solid offense in this year.
At my number 4, I've got, like Dan said, the Atlanta Falcons. They've got Matt Ryan, Devontae Freeman, Tevin Coleman, Julio Jones, all those guys. But I think they take a step back. Ryan's going to struggle because, I mean, we've seen it in the past. One good year, few bad years, one good year. So I think he's going to start to regress a little bit. So that's why the Falcons coming in at 4.
I've got the Packers at 3, obviously with Aaron Rodgers, and basically that's all you need to know.
Steelers number 3 for me. Big Ben, Antonio Brown, Le'Veon Bell.
Yeah, I also have Steelers at number 3. Outside of those 3, though, a little bit lacking in the depth department. But the Steelers still, I mean, any offense could be solid with those 3, plus a solid O-line for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
All right, at number 3, I've got my Oakland Raiders. You've got a top 7 quarterback in Derek Carr. I think Lynch is going to be just what we need. Nothing. He's not going to. That's the kind of big misconception that he's going to rush for 2,000 yards. I think he's going to be just enough. And then you've got top 3 best receiving core in Oakland. Not much you can't like there. And you just picked up Jared Cook at the tight end spot. Lots of good things going the right way in Oakland.
I've got the Patriots at 2. Tom Brady and a great receiving core. They'll have a great year.
I have Cowboys number 2. Best offensive line, Ezekiel Elliott. But I think Dak Prescott will have a little bit worse of a year than he had last year. But Ezekiel Elliott will pick that up for him.
At my number 2, I'm going to go with the Super Bowl runner-ups, the Atlanta Falcons. Matt Ryan, I think, will have another solid year. Devontae Freeman and Tevin Coleman in the backfield, and Julio Jones. Outside of Julio Jones, the wide receivers and tight ends are kind of lacking, but I think the running game picks up for that.
My number 2, I got the Packers. I know you guys keep saying there's not much else to say besides Aaron Rodgers, but you guys keep, I think, not you guys in general, I think in general, a lot of people forget that they just got Martellus Bennett in the offseason too. You give Aaron Rodgers, Jordy Nelson, Randall Cobb, Devontae Adams, and Martellus Bennett. I think they're going to contest with, I think they're going to be the easy number 1 in the NFC and contend in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I think the only question with those guys, though, is consistency. They can stay on the field and consistently produce. I mean, there's been times where guys like Devontae Adams on the field have had terrible few-week stretches and then have awesome few-week stretches. So I think if they can be consistent for Rodgers, I mean, the Packers are going to be a force to be reckoned with.
I mean, yeah, if everyone stays healthy for the Packers, then I think they have, like, there's no one else beside, like, the Patriots can't even contend with them, in my opinion. I think you've got better receivers in Cobb, Adams, and Nelson that I think the Packers have got the second best offense in the NFL and everyone's healthy. It's just a matter of will they stay healthy.
I've got the Steelers at my number 1 offense. Best running back and receiver in the game, along with the top 5 quarterback.
I have Falcons number 1, Matt Ryan, Devontae Freeman. If Julio Jones stays healthy, the Falcons will go a long way.
At my number one, I'm going to say the New England Patriots. Tom Brady, a lot of running back depth this year. Brandon Cooks coming over for the wide receiver position. Gronk and Dwayne Allen at the tight end position. There should be no stopping the Patriots on the offensive side this year.
I'm going to agree with Dan again. I got the Steelers at 1. He said everything I was going to say. Best running back, best receiver, top 5 quarterback. Not much else to say there. So, looking into this week coming up. Tomorrow we've got the Los Angeles Clippers. What's next? I can promise you that will be a fun one to listen to. Lots of arguments I can assume from Dylan and the rest of us. D3 stud John will be back tomorrow for the Clippers, so make sure you stay tuned for that especially. And then we will keep going through the Pacific Division and AFC North, including Ravens and Browns previews, and the Lakers, which will be another fun one, the Kings, Suns, and hopefully the eventual champion Golden State Warriors. So all that's coming up in the next week and a half.
Yeah, thank you guys for listening, and if you want to see the rest of our NFL season previews, make sure you check out that playlist and subscribe for the future ones. Also follow us on Twitter. We will be posting on there every time we post a new video and every time we post an article on our Sports Sermon website. So thank you guys for listening. Check those out if you want more Sports Sermon content, and we will see you tomorrow.